Hey, I'm Karen, and I'm the mom to two amazingly neurospicy autistic kiddos. If you're an autism parent like me, you know I don't have time to make a podcast intro. I also lack the tech skills. So let's just get into it. This is the NeurOrdinary podcast. As a mother raising children on the autism spectrum, I want to share my perspective on why our family has chosen not to pursue applied behavior analysis or ABA therapy. It's essential to recognize that every family's journey is unique, and this episode aims to shed light on our personal choices and experiences. So let's dive in. What exactly is ABA? According to Autism Parenting Magazine, and I am quoting directly here, applied behavior analysis therapy, or ABA therapy, is a therapy method often used for children with autism, which modifies behavior using positive reinforcement. Applied behavior analysis states that desired behaviors can be developed using a rewards and consequences based system. In this method, a therapist identifies and sets a goal for the child to develop a target skill or behavior and measures their progress throughout the therapy period. ABA therapy is generally considered the most common therapy for autism, and it's thought to be the most established and well-documented approach due to its scientific and systematic nature. So, as you can see, the therapy is rooted in a therapist making a determination of what is and isn't allowed, and then rewarding or bribing the child to go along with what the therapist wants them to do. At least it's somewhat of an improvement from the literal shock treatment that autistic individuals used to get treated with when ABA was first developed in the late 1960s. The first thing I want to talk about is my belief that my children don't need 30 to 40 hours a week of therapy. One of the biggest reasons we said no is that ABA therapy is often very intensive and it requires a significant time commitment. While it may benefit some individuals, the only time I personally think it should be considered is, number one, if the child asks for it, or number two, if they are actively hurting themselves or others, and all other therapies like OT and speech therapy have been unsuccessful. Personally, I believe in focusing on quality over quantity. I want my children to have a balanced childhood where they have time to explore their interests, engage in play, and develop their own unique talents. I believe that nurturing their passions and providing them with a supportive environment is just as important as any therapy program, not just ABA. I've seen my children thrive and make progress through more moderate therapy schedules that allow them time to engage in other meaningful activities. They've developed social skills, communication abilities, and functional independence at their own pace. By allowing them the freedom to explore and enjoy their childhood, we have witnessed their natural curiosity and intrinsic motivation to learn and grow. The next reason our family says no to ABA is our desire not to override our kids' natural autistic traits. Autism is a neurological variation, not a defect to be fixed. Our children have unique strengths, interests, and ways of perceiving the world. As parents, we value and celebrate their autistic traits, as we see it as something that contributes to their individuality. Instead of focusing on trying to change their natural behaviors, we choose to provide them with the support they need to thrive and embrace their autistic identities. I don't need eye contact to know that my kids are listening to me. And I'm actually aware enough to know that if they are using all their energy to look at me, they physically don't have the energy or attention to use their ears to listen. I want their ears, not their eyeballs. I don't demand that my autistic children look and behave like their neurotypical peers. Again, unless it is a safety issue and other therapies haven't been helpful, let autistics be autistic. My kids have taught me the beauty of neurodiversity and the importance of understanding and accepting their unique perspectives. As parents, my husband and I believe in creating an inclusive environment that celebrates our kids' differences and fosters their self-esteem and self-acceptance. By embracing their natural autistic traits and not trying to make them hide or change the very core of who they are, we empower them to develop their own sense of identity and be who they're meant to be. Another reason we don't pursue ABA therapy is that we found other supportive therapies that align better with our goals. Speech therapy, occupational therapy, play therapy, for example, have proven really helpful for our children. These therapies focus on developing communication skills, enhancing sensory integration, and addressing specific challenges in a more holistic and individualized way. We believe that prioritizing therapies that respect and nurture our children's overall well-being and individual needs is the best path forward for them. For example, through speech therapy, our children gain functional communication skills, and we found alternative ways to help them express themselves, even when meltdowns cause them to lose their ability to communicate verbally. Occupational therapy helped them develop the sensory processing strategies they need so they're more comfortable in their own bodies. And now that they are a little bit older, they're able to advocate for what they need in any given situation and take care of their sensory needs themselves. It also improved their fine and gross motor skills, which helps them participate in daily activities with greater ease and independence, which are key factors in reducing meltdown and frustration. Play therapy allowed them to understand their emotions and how they feel, and it helped them interpret the sensations they have as the feelings they were actually experiencing. These therapies have allowed us to target specific areas of developmental delay while respecting and honoring our kids' unique strengths and needs. To quote one of my favorite autistic authors, Chris Bonello, the goal of therapy isn't to make them act like neurotypical kids, it's to turn them into autistic kids who don't struggle. And that is always our goal. And I'll link to some information about Chris down in the show notes. Moving on, this is super important to me. As the mother of an autistic daughter, one of the biggest reasons we don't do ABA, I want that girl to stay feisty because she'll need it to stay safe as an autistic woman. Society can be challenging for autistic individuals, especially as they grow older. And autistic women face unique safety concerns and are often more vulnerable in all the ways that someone can be vulnerable. I want my daughter to maintain her confidence, assertiveness, and her self-advocacy skills. Her turning into a cat and hissing at some weirdo who is bothering her could be the thing that literally saves her life and helps make sure she isn't turned into a victim. I don't want any therapist to think it's their place to eliminate that for her because it's weird. I don't want her being trained, or perhaps a more appropriate word is groomed, to override her sense of autistic autonomy in order to do what some adult tells her she should, and also then rewards her for doing what they said. By embracing her extra spicy sassitude, she can navigate the world with strength and resilience, surrounded by a support system that understands and respects her needs, which is so important for everybody, but especially for autistic girls and women. While ABA therapy aims to shape behaviors and compliance, I believe it's more important for my daughter to retain her sense of self and stand up for herself in a society that may not always understand or accommodate her needs. By allowing her to stay truly and sometimes epically herself, we are fostering her sense of self-advocacy, and we are equipping her with the skills and tools she needs to navigate a world that may not always embrace her differences. We prioritize teaching her about consent, boundaries, and self-protection, which empowers her to make choices that align with her comfort and safety as an autistic girl. Now, my other child also benefits from not having ABA therapy, but for different reasons. He has a PDA, or pathological demand avoidance profile, and he would not tolerate ABA therapy. I'll link with some more information about PDA in the show notes. But the short story is, it's a specific profile within the autism spectrum that's characterized by extreme resistance to everyday demands. And individuals with PDA often experience high levels of anxiety and find it challenging, if not impossible, to comply with external demands. ABA therapy, with its structured and demanding nature, is likely to make things much, much, much worse for him as a person, and also for our relationship with him as his parents if we chose to put him through it. Instead, we focus on strategies that support his autonomy. We minimize demands, and we respect his unique way of engaging with the world. And shocker, he's doing great. We found that a person-centered and flexible approach, which incorporates elements of PDA-specific strategies and accommodations, has been more effective in supporting him than anything else we've tried. By adapting our approach to meet our kids' needs and reducing demands, we create an environment where they feel safe, understood, and supported. This approach helps to minimize anxiety and allows our kids to engage more fully in their daily activities. Like I said, I'll leave some more information about how we address PDA in our family in the show notes. I hope it helps. It's a really interesting thing to learn about. We talked about it briefly already, but the biggest reason we say no to ABA, I don't want my child looking to grown-ups to decide for them what to do and how to behave, because it sets them up for potential abuse. ABA therapy heavily relies on adult-led instruction and prompts to shape behavior. While this approach may be effective for some, and again, it is appropriate in cases where kids are hurting themselves or others, I have concerns about the potential long-term effects. And a lot of adult autistics have come out to say how incredibly damaging ABA therapy was for them as children. I want my kids to develop their own sense of autonomy, critical thinking, and self-expression skills. By fostering their self-advocacy skills and teaching them to set boundaries, as parents, we're empowering them to navigate the world confidently and assertively. As parents, my husband and I believe in providing our children with the tools to make informed decisions, communicate their needs, and assert their boundaries. This includes teaching them, like I said before, about consent, respecting their preferences wherever we can, and valuing their unique perspectives, none of which we see happening in ABA therapy. By promoting our kids' autonomy, we're preparing them to navigate relationships and situations with confidence and resilience. We prioritize open communication and a collaborative approach that empowers our children to become active participants in their own lives and in their own therapy, even if it does make our lives as parents a bit more difficult while they're young. See, the thing is, I'm not parenting with the idea that my kids should be easy. I'm parenting with the plan in my mind that I am raising adults who will need to be a part of this world, and they're going to be adults for a heck of a lot longer than they'll be children. They need to learn how to live and work on their own with their own ideas about how they should behave and act, because there won't always be someone over them, literally holding hand over hand sometimes and telling them what they're supposed to be doing. They need to figure that out for themselves. So there you have it. The reasons why our family has chosen not to pursue ABA therapy. It's important to remember, again, every family's journey is unique, and what works for one will not work for another. The decision to pursue or not pursue ABA therapy should be made with careful consideration, taking into account the individual needs, values, and goals of each child and family. It is crucial to acknowledge that ABA therapy can be beneficial for some individuals in some unique circumstances, and this episode isn't intended to invalidate or dismiss your experience if that is what has worked for your family. And I am certainly not here to attack you for your choices. My intention is to share my family's perspective and highlight alternative approaches for the autism community. With love and respect, if you feel called out or triggered by anything you've heard today, I'd encourage you to sit with that and see why that is. Did something I said make you regret a choice you've made? Is it easier to be mad at me for pointing it out than it is to deal with your own feelings about possibly doing something unintentionally that may have hurt your child or damaged your relationship with them, or may have some unintended negative consequence you didn't think about? It's just something to think about before you come for me in the comments. As autism parents, we're all striving to make the best, most informed decisions we can based on what we believe is in the best interest of our children. It's a continuous learning process, and we must be open to exploring different options, therapies, and strategies that align with our values and goals. Remember, every child is unique, and their needs should guide the choices we make. By advocating for our kids' individuality, respecting their autonomy, and fostering a supportive environment, we can empower our children to thrive and embrace their unique autistic strengths. Thanks for listening. New episodes of the NeurOrdinary podcast drop every Thursday. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you're feeling generous, leave a comment below or review letting me know what you thought about today's episode. And whatever you do, keep it spicy.